My name's Keith. I am from Winnipeg, and my channel is the KM Archery. And you will notice on the KM Archery that there is a lot of a very weird sport where I shoot that way. It's called pole archery, or that is the nomenclature that we use here, because we speak English. In Belgium, in northern France, it tends to be referenced as stand whip. A variation of it is shot in Scotland and in England under Popinjay or pop and go. You're probably more familiar with those terms than you are with pole archery. And in my hand, I have probably one of the pride and joys of my personal bow collection. Jack here is visiting on his trek across the country, and this is a bow that was manufactured in Toronto in 1966. And considering how pretty it is, it has hardly been used. I do shoot this, but I only shoot it sparingly because I really want it to stay this pretty, because it is pretty. It is a pistol gripped wood and laminated fiberglass bow. You can see by the fiberglass with fiberglass tips. This is called a traditional bow, even though it's not a traditional bow by the standards of because I mean, it's got a shelf, and for crying out loud, it's got a pistol grip. By the way, a very comfortable pistol grip, but it's got a pistol grip. This, of course, is a right-handed bow. I am a right-handed shooter. It is 45 at 28, so about 41 at 26, which is what my draw is. The story behind this really is that I found it on Kijiji, and it was a package that I bought for $200. And the story that came with it is that his grandmother had bought it for his cousin back from the factory. They had a shop beside the factory in Toronto. If you look up Archery Craft Canada in Toronto, there's their logo.
Do you mind bringing closer?
Yeah.
Even way closer than that.
Okay.
Good.
And this would be the type of bow that after the things like the steel longbow or actual longbows, the clubs started using bows like this. This, of course, was not used, but we shoot pole archery, which is a Canadian version of a sport that is commonly practiced in Ghent, Bruges, in the Flemish-speaking region of Belgium and in northern France. And yeah, we use bows like this.
So one question I have is, with Winnipeg, it's predominantly English, right? Or it's half and half French and English?
Winnipeg is a polyglot.
So how come specifically Belgium ended up?
It just happened that back in 1910, a large contingent of Belgians picked Manitoba to settle in. And Winnipeg being the capital of Manitoba and the largest city, people tended to migrate to here. Mm-hmm. And so there are two pole archery clubs that shoot vertically and one club that shoots horizontal, because there's two different versions of the sport. And we shoot birds.
Not real birds, by the way.
Yeah, that's what we call these. We call these birds. I don't remember the Flemish word for it, and if I knew it, I probably would butcher the pronunciation anyways. And then we shoot them with blunts, what we call horns. So we're not shooting points into the sky of those who are going, oh my God, he's shooting into the sky. Well, the answer is no, we're not. We're shooting blunts. The arrows that we're shooting too, they tend to average very, very high in weight. So we're talking like 960 grains for an arrow.
They look like warbow arrows.
Yeah, well, actually, they would fit with the warbow arrow tradition, but they're very short, very wooden. Now these ones here they use cow horn, so that's why it's called a horn, right? So you're shooting the blunt. So believe it or not, Jack, they used to shoot these with that steel bow. Now this one weighs about 600 grains, which actually is probably a little light for that bow. I'd be fine for this one. But a lot of the arrows that we shoot today with these horns, with the fancy plastic horns, the arrows the guys shoot with their compounds tend to be 960 grains. So even though they're going fast, they're not going as fast as you'd think they'd go, because they're a lot heavier, eh? And also see, that's, once again, that's cow horn as an insert for your knock. So, and the fletches, well, these ones have had the tar kicked out of them. These were imported by the club back in the 80s.
Wow.
So these have been around for a while, and they're just, basically they're just an example now. Some of them still have some of the club members' names on them, like Toby. And then there's a stamp on this one that I can't really read. But they've been around for a while. I just threw some paint on them to give them some protection. Sorry, the history of the sport is, to be fair, it's kind of confusing. Because a lot of people look to it thinking, well, there's got to be some sort of military application to this. And there may have been a military application. To be fair, the biggest comparisons for it has to do with festivals and celebration times, and an opportunity to show off your skills shooting really, really colorful pieces of wood with feathers on them off of a pole. The origins of the sport, there's suggestions that it has to do with naval archery and using the mast, right? Someone will climb up in the mast and put something up there for the archers to practice. Because if you do not practice with your, in this case, the archers, the naval archers, if you don't practice with your war bow, you get rusty, and you get rusty fast. Because, I mean, we're talking war bows here. We're not talking, you know, like a 41 at 26. Now, the other suggestion is that it was used to shoot pigeons out of the church towers. And then someone got the idea, hey, why don't we make this into a sport? Another suggestion, now, if you go to Popinjay and you go to Scotland, it was an opportunity to show off and to demonstrate your skill with archery, to shoot at the kirk, church. You put your foot on the front step of the church, and you'd shoot a bird. Now, they weren't shooting this; they were shooting something much larger. And that's as they would gather to get up to go. The militia would gather. That's what they would do to show. So there is military applications or potential military applications, but the majority of it has to do with guys being bored and having fun.
Would you use blunts for actual hunting?
For birds, yeah.
Why?
Birds and small game.
Why would you use blunts in that situation?
Well, if you use a broadhead, you'll obliterate your animal. Right? Whereas with a blunt, you're just going to bludgeon it.
Oh! Did you see that, guys?
Yeah. So that's what this... You hear that sound? Isn't that a lovely ping? That's my archery tree. There's metal birds hanging from bungees with magnets, and the goal is to shoot them down. It's since I'm a pole archery fan.
Oh, nice!
My version. I just hit the pole. It's my it's my entertaining version, and it's my attempt to entertain us the same way that the firearms guys get to shoot metal targets that go ping. Well, this is mine.
So this is the closest thing you can do pole archery without doing pole archery.
Right. It's on a pole.
But still following the rules.
Yeah.